I do remember the first couple years that every client that came in, every phone call that came in, every lead that came in was so critically important because you know, when you're just trying to pay your car bill and your I had a small little 1-bedroom condo at the time, just trying to pay the mortgage, trying to keep food and lights on. And I don't. Listen, we still treat our clients exceptionally well. We have 4.9 out of 5 stars on Google with almost 400 reviews. We're really passionate about giving incredible client service. But I just love the feeling of no longer feeling desperate. That any one client can walk away and then, oh my gosh, wow, I can't pay my bills anymore.
It's interesting because putting deals together before at that time when I was just trying to get, back on my feet again, getting out of my bankruptcy and everything, is that, there'd be so many, to me, when I teach my students to really get, a good deal, you have to have one thing, which is a motivated seller. Mm-hmm. If the seller's not motivated, it's just never going to be a good deal. And it's interesting because at that time, even sellers that weren't motivated, I would still keep calling them and keep hounding them and keep after them. And, as you said now, things are a little bit different. Of course, we try to service every single homeowner that's out there, but there are some times that it's just, it's just not going to work out. And you have to move on because
you can take no for an answer sometimes.
And the way that I look at it is I'm like, I can't have that one homeowner drain so much energy out of me that I don't go help these other 5 homeowners. Really we look at that. Exactly. That really need the help. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Or focus on this one really difficult flip that, you're pouring your life energy into, your soul into, your money into, and then you're missing out on 3 or 4 other deals that are could be much more lucrative when you combine them. So
absolutely.
Before I want to. Certainly, we want to get to the coaching program. Before we get to that, I also want to get to just your experience in flipping hundreds of properties. But before that, I am really fascinated in the real estate investor associations because that's actually how I met you. I believe we were members of REIA some years ago, and also DREA, and we've spoken at your meetings and given some presentations at education. Tell us about that experience and number one, kind of how that helped you to launch your brand and your company and grow your business, and then ultimately, I think you've transitioned from that, I believe.
Yes.
But give us that journey.
Yeah, so it was interesting. Like I said, when I found REIA, I'd never even heard of a Real Estate Investors Association.
And that's the Broward Real Estate Investors Association. Correct. Yeah.
And the funny part about that is that I ended up being the president of the National Real Estate Investors Association from 2018 to 2023.
Wow. 5 years.
50,000 members.
Holy
120
smokes.
chapters. We even had a Honolulu chapter for REIA. But yeah, so when I met Bill and Jan Leon, the REIA business at that time, we had kind of changed a few things. It was really more in that, and also in 2010, 9, 10, 11, 12, everybody was now becoming an educator and a guru, and I've got this program that you can buy, and here's these books and tapes, and so the REIA business, is interesting because it's really networking and education, bringing together, investors, attorneys, realtors, brokers, that sort of thing, trying to find synergy between people, but the main component that we dealt with was education. Like we had Jaron come and educate, our members on, landlords and landlording situations and evictions and that sort of thing, because that knowledge is key. If you're a new investor starting out, building your network is very important and having the right people. So it's kind of like a sort of like a glorified Angie's List a little bit too, because we kind of qualify the vendors, and we people would call the offices and we would refer contractors or attorneys or different things like that. So as when we bought the company from Bill and Jan, we started making some changes. There were some practices that they had at the time that were a little bit outdated. Speakers showing up that were still passing out CDs and things on your computer. It's like we're kind of beyond that now.
Tapes.
Yeah, exactly. As long as they were like cassette tapes, VHS. That's where I draw the line.
Matrix,
yeah. So we had made some changes in that and wanted to sort of kind of modernize modernize it. We wanted to do more of a component of really, not just teaching wholesaling, but teaching how to do some fix and flips, how to do some buy and holds. In real estate, you never necessarily want to be just a one-trick pony. It's like your law firm. You guys don't just do one thing. There's a lot of different things that you do. And so that's kind of how we had revamped REIA. And we also started the Miami-Dade Real Estate Investors Association. And we had 2 chapters. And that's when we really started our mentor program, which was our one-on-one investing, and mentoring with people where they partner with us. We put up the money for the deals. People coming in, starting out, that was one of my biggest problems. I didn't have the cash to be able to flip properties, and cash is king. And I didn't have the credit either because I had a bankruptcy, so nobody was really going to lend to me. So we did very well with that mentor program for a while, and being a chapter of the National Real Estate Investors Association, a big part of that was they have the largest contract with Home Depot, and so the discounts with Home Depot that you get for materials and paint and appliances and these kind of things, and that was obviously something that a lot of contractors and investors were really interested in becoming members of our organization. So we expanded the mentor program, did very well with that for a while, and the pandemic hit. We had to obviously make some pivots there because all of our meetings and everything were in person. We met the first Wednesday of every month, would have 250, 300 people there, and that wasn't happening during the pandemic, unfortunately. So we did the Zoom game like everybody else, and it was funny because I remember the first meeting that we had. When you're not used to certain things, you get into practice. We're all experts on Zoom now, right? Mm-hmm. But we've all seen those videos where somebody didn't realize that the camera and the audio was still on. So I remember our first meeting, and we were just getting ready to start. And I was texting my business partner. I said, I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm in my condo. And I go to use the restroom. And I come back and look at my phone. And he says, dude, we could hear you flush the toilet. So we made that pivot. And everybody else, obviously, all of our members and everybody realized, that we had to do, kind of do the Zoom thing. Some people, kind of, fell off a little bit. But we kept things going and then got back to the in-person, meetings eventually. And in 2021, I had just gotten to a place where I was actually doing more mentoring than I was doing investing. And I really wanted to get back into doing more investing, really get more, my finger on the pulse of the market. And that way, I would bring a lot more value to my students when I mentor them. So we actually sold BREIA and MD REIA, and we split up the partnership. And my old partner is still doing the REIA business now and doing well with that. And I went off to start a new company called Florida Homeowner Solutions. I didn't get super creative in the name on purpose. It's branding. I wanted the name for people to say, well, what does your company do? Florida Homeowner Solutions. We come up with solutions for homeowners that are in distress situations, you know. And our slogan is, we help you keep your home, sell your home, or we buy your home. So depending upon their situation, a lot of people in foreclosure, of course, they've stopped making payments on their mortgage, but they still want to keep their house. So if that's a viable option, we'll continue to support them and help them, through that, provide some services for that. We have a special program where our attorneys give a discounted, monthly rate for the retainer and provide foreclosure defense and loan modification assistance as well. But the idea that I had behind it, now I know this is going to sound a little bit of a stretch, but it's the concept, okay? But in my mind, I used to sit there and I remember I was working with a new student, and I was explaining to this student, when you're dealing with homeowners that are facing foreclosure, one of the realities is that there's no place, out in public that you can go that is branded in any kind of way to help homeowners with foreclosures. There's no building that has a sign on that says facing foreclosure, come in here, we help. There's no such thing. If you're driving down the street and your oil light comes on and you see a Jiffy Lube, you know where to go. You know what to do. Or if you need groceries, you see a Publix. These are branded. So I wanted to sort of be the Uber of residential real estate here for the state of Florida, so that when a homeowner needs to sell their house, or they have a foreclosure, that they're in, or they have a probate, someone in their family has passed away, or a divorce, a relocation, or whatever it is, tired of being a landlord, there's always those. Sure. I wanted to have that, this company branded as that destination. So I started building the company about a year and a half ago. Things are going, really well. We actually have a television commercial that we have shot and produced. We will be the first ones on television to be advertising that, hey, we help homeowners, facing foreclosure. Wow. I have an attorney working on all of our disclaimers that we have to put on our commercial afterwards, all that little fine print that people can't read. So that's kind of the direction that we're going in. And we're here in South Florida for the Tri-County area. And of course, eventually I want to expand and maybe even do a franchising with the company for Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, maybe even in some of the smaller markets. We kind of have a sort of what I would call a proprietary way of collecting data and getting public record and finding homeowners and how we market to them and that sort of thing. So that's something that we will hopefully be able to duplicate in other markets, and then I may have Ohio Homeowner Solutions. You never know.
Yeah, you could Buckeye Homeowner Solutions. Yeah. Oh, it's great. Yeah. So first of all, I actually love the name. I really truly believe in branding, that keeping it's the KISS rule. Keep it simple, stupid.
Absolutely.
Some people make up these weird names, Exatron, Realty, and what does that mean? Yeah. That doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So good job on that. So would you say right now the deals that you're doing, are the majority of them through your coaching and mentoring program, or is it through your marketing efforts that you're doing with the data and your mailers and phone calls and whatever else that you're doing?
Yeah, so most of my day-to-day right now is very involved in building the company. We're continuing to build our call center and get some acquisitions people and that sort of thing. So I just relaunched my mentor program. My mentor program nationally is called the Flip Coach. And I've taught people all over the country. But restarting this now, the idea is that my students can shadow what I'm doing in building a successful day-to-day business. There's a lot of gurus out there that teach things, but they're teaching things that they did years ago. I mean, when you ask them, they're not really actively doing, what they're teaching. They're just teaching. Times change.
Technology changes.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I work with a number of coaches and in the real estate brokerage business, trying to solve for specific things, whether it's a specific marketing tool that we're trying to execute on or something else. And I really hunt these people down because there's so many people out there that are, I don't know, they may have had success and they have success in their own right, but they're not the right person for a specific thing, even though they would gladly take your money and coach you on it.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a thing to be in the weeds with your students, really having your, like you said, finger on the pulse, really knowing. So I respect that and appreciate that. That really adds value. Coming from a guy who has hired and continuously every 3 to 4, 6 months, I'm changing coaches, talking to new people, searching for my next coach, whether it be in sales or marketing or some other avenue that we're trying to really pursue.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting too because the way that I saw the market kind of happen, it's kind of like having that I would say, as they say, like the 30,000 foot view. When HDTV got wildly popular with these fix and flip shows, starting back in the early 2000s and then through the crash of the market. And I mean, if you ask a lot of people, that's one of their favorite shows to watch. And you had Armando Montalongo doing the Flip This House in Texas. You had Than Merrill, the ex-football player, doing it on the East Coast. You've got the Yanceys in Vegas, the husband and wife that, you know, are arguing all the time. She always wants to put expensive finishes in there, and he always wants the bottom line, you know. So it's funny, yeah, right. And I saw this kind of, you know, really blow up, and it's funny because one of my favorite movies, and I tell all of my students to watch this movie, and I'm sure both of you guys have seen The Big Short. Okay, it's an incredible movie. First of all, I'm a huge movie guy, so Cast of Thousands, which sometimes is a kiss of death. But no, it's a great movie, but it's also very informative. A lot of people didn't realize really what happened in the crash and what our banking system was and lending, you know. And it's funny because at the end of that movie, they're playing this music and they have the voiceover, and they show this room of people, and they're all sitting there with their notebooks looking up, you know, at this person on the stage that's teaching them, and there's like this pop-up, and it's like, you know, learn how to invest in real estate, you know, and these things just went, you know, gangbusters. So one of the biggest is Than Merrill's Fortune Builders, and they charge like $50,000 to get into their mentor program, and the funny thing is that as I got into the National REIA, became president of National REIA, and would be going around the country and teaching different people. I have met hundreds of people from failed, you know, mentor programs, not having the right mentors. So just like you said, Larry, it's very important that, you know, you understand. I mean, obviously using that notoriety, they've been on TV, right? So I'm sure that they know how to teach me how to do real estate, you know?
You know,